Welcome back to the UKLC, and we're in for our final game of the evening. Nvision will be going up against Bulldog, and if you had told me about this game a couple of weeks ago, I would have been giving a very different narrative to the one I'm about to give you, but Bulldog could be sitting in third place on their own win-wise after a win here if they could grab that one. Nvision might struggle a little bit more, and just looking at these two rosters, is that the Bulldog lineup we're going to see today? Because if so, it would be Rogue.
I feel like there's a bit of an error there in the overlay. Pivotless, obviously the manager for Bulldog, we had them on yesterday
Yes.
for the interview. So it is going to be Zion in the jungle. Don't stress about that. It is the regular Bulldog lineup. Hachi top side, Zion jungle, Shiflin in the mid lane, Vayusi and Poke in the bottom lane. And then, of course, I believe the Nvision roster was correct. So you have Gdanica back in again. Of course, Yuna dropping to the sub bench for now. And honestly, Gdanica brought up, a new sort of proactive side of Nvision that we hadn't necessarily seen, albeit, a little bit too far here and there. And they certainly were punished yesterday and, of course, did lose. But if, like I said yesterday, if they can sort of bring in the reins a little bit, not sort of step too far forward on so many of these plays, and they sort of cut their losses or cut earlier on their wins, they could honestly come into this Bulldog game and make it very competitive.
And that's what I'm hoping for this final game, because both of these teams need to win for different reasons. As we've kind of been saying tonight, that's kind of been the storyline that has been running through all of these fixtures, and Bulldog have been in better form than they were pre-Super Weeks existing. They've been winning some games. They've been looking pretty good in those wins, which is always very, very important. And Nvision, on the other hand, need to start picking up form because they're in the relegation zone right now. And yes, the Mize aren't performing at the optimal level, but no one else is really faltering to a great enough extent that they're being drawn into this relegation scrap, except maybe M&M. But I think it's a reasonably long drop for them. There are lots of different timelines.
We'll get to them.
But we're going to see which one we're on for this game, as Bulldog on the blue side take on Nvision on the red. Seraphine, Aatrox, Udyr, Fresh, and Kai'Sa all being removed. Pantheon still available. We saw Gdanica on that one yesterday, as Olaf is the final ban, and Pantheon wasn't too convincing.
Yeah, I mean, as Pantheon wasn't too convincing, we're actually going to see a Rel first pick here from Bulldog, so very high priority on that champion. And whilst Gdanica's Pantheon wasn't necessarily too convincing, it was the key factor in Nvision being a much more proactive team to what we've seen them ever be throughout the split. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see it be locked in. And we actually also have Talia available at the same time. So there's potential for a Pantheon Talia if they feel like they can pilot that one out. But there are also things like the Gragas. You've got all of the other AD carries up and available. So with the exception of the Kai'Sa, so we could see, an AD carry lock-in. They have the rel there, so Nvision don't have to show any of their cards necessarily. They could just pick up a support matchup and just let the Gragas be a flex between top and jungle. But I would personally like to see the Pantheon here for Gather. But being Muffin on a carry is certainly something I'm not gonna turn my nose up at. I'm not gonna look away from that one.
Yeah, we just saw Azir have an excellent performance in our last game in the hands of Sykes, so Beam Muffin picking that one up is going to be definitely interesting. Style of champion that we don't necessarily know Beam Muffin for as much as we do these utility supportive styles, so definitely a nice one to see. The Gnar going to be locked in for Bulldog, that impressive top laner who gives a decent amount of engage as well. And let's see what they decide to round out their first picks with. Jungle still available. No one's grabbed one of those yet unless we see the PFI special from Nvision. And Marksman as well.
Yeah, there's so many Marksmen up and available, but I don't know whether Bulldog would really want to take that when you know the Azir is likely going to be mid and you can just get a mid counter pick. So I would imagine this is Shiklin's lock-in. But I guess the Talia, of course, we saw Zion, I believe, pilot at least once. But there is no Pantheon paired up with it. There's not really a lot of point-and-click CC two lockdown members for that Unraveled Earth and the Seismic Shove just yet. And honestly, if Nvision want to, they can, at the very least, take up the Pantheon here or in R4 or just ban it away entirely. It's still up and available. We're going to see a bit of a Gdanica special, actually. Old-time Jarvan player. Played it a lot in the university leagues as well. So into the likes of a Talia definitely can sort of outscale in those team fight situations where, especially if Bulldog ground out with very immobile AD carry and mid laner, this Jarvan's going to have a lot of value from the Cataclysm, and there can be so much follow-up from the ultimate that's already available to Nvision.
Yeah, Tristana going to be taken off the table by Nvision. Alistair not going to be available to them, as that is the ban for Bulldog. And want to be getting rid of some of these, higher priority marksmen that are a bit more mobile to allow Godonica to have success on this pickup.
I would like to actually see Vyusi's Vayne banned away. I think that would actually be a pretty smart ban right now. Given the fact there's not really a whole bunch of point and click CC available yet, we are going to see the center removed away instead, though, for now. And the reason why I call for the Vayne ban is just simply because there is no point and click there. Yeah, there is the cast, there's obviously Jarvan, but you can tumble out of the Jarvan Cataclysm for some reason. Don't ask me why it's an interaction, it just is, unless they fixed it at some point. So, Vyusi, with the amount of frontline present, and the fact that, Bulldog could realistically round out this composition with something like an Orianna to then buy even more space, could have been a viable option for Bulldog, and it is still there for them. For Nvision, though, I imagine AD carry. Jhin, there you go.
Yeah, strong AD carry to be locked in, and adds to this composition quite nicely. A bit of range damage, and there's not too many ways. Well, there are a couple ways that Bulldog can get onto an immobile AD carry who's at the back of the team fight, but not the most consistent ways of doing that, right? You've got the Nard diving in, but can only do that some of the time. You've got the wall coming through and the rail coming through, and Samira being locked in, a champ we haven't seen today, has barely been touched today by any one pick or ban. So nice to see Samira jumping back onto the Rift, this time in the hands of Vyusi.
Yeah, Vyusi, one of the few players I think that has actually made the champion look relatively okay, as that's a cool hover. Whether it gets locked in is a different thing.
Well, there it is.
Okay, there it is. Right, cool. So we're going to get Ziggs mid. Azir, a champion that kind of struggles into longer range and pokes. So something like Ziggs can definitely cause a few issues for the Azir. But in that same breath, you are dealing with a Jarvan who is going to constantly dive onto you. You do have the Satchel actually as well to interrupt the flag and drag, which is something to, I suppose, keep our eyes on as the timer ticks down for the final pick of Nvision. So it's actually a Malphite. So meaning we're going to have Gragas in the bottom side with that Jhin. Malphite in the top side. It's a very explosive, very straightforward composition from Nvision. Just press your R keys and go. I don't think it gets much more basic than that. On the Bulldog side, though, no more execution required, but they certainly do have quite a few good tools at dealing with dive. But when Nvision are overloaded with it in the nature that they are, I don't know if they have enough to actually survive.
Look, we've got 3 solutions to dive, and Nvision we have all the dive.
Exactly. So
we have all the dive in Jhin, who's just going to stand miles away from you and shoot you. So the Bulldog composition, talk me through it. Explain to me what's going on here, because there are a couple of curveballs in this one.
Yeah, so you've got the Ziggs, which in isolation to the Azir, I don't think it's necessarily going to win out lane priority, specifically in the earlier stages, sort of levels 1 through 4. Come that level 5 mark, then you can start to see the Ziggs sort of clear out the minions a little faster. And then from there, it kind of just turns into a bit of a farm fest. Azir's not really going to look to aggress onto the Ziggs too much, but the bigger issue for the Azir is if some of this poke starts to land, because Ziggs can realistically sit quite far back from this Azir. So I think we're just going to end up seeing Shifting and BB Muffin kind of handshake the mid lane. They're not going to be too fussed on who gets lane priority per se. They're just more or less going to be looking to scale up with one another. I think eyes really has to be on these 2 junglers, Godonica and Zion. They've both got 2 very early aggressive playstyle junglers where obviously Jarvan loves to attack lanes very early on, and Talia, whilst she can power farm relatively quick, she's no Lilia, she's no Hecarim, she's no Graves. She would realistically prefer to make it into one of these lanes and start snowballing quickly.
So is it eyes on jungle for this matchup? Is this where we're going to see the pace set? Is this where we're going to see which team is going to go into the middle stages of the game more successfully? It's where the junglers are prioritizing and how successful they are at doing so?
I specifically believe so, just because we've got this Jarvan in the game where he's likely going to be the primary engage to allow setup for things like the follow-up of the Azir, the Malphite almost, the casks. So if Godonica on this Jarvan does have priority to do that, if he does have the agency to do that and he's further ahead, then things can get tough for Bulldog. But it's going to be about how Nvision actually layer these ultimates, these aggressive tools down, because again, Bulldog do have relatively good tools at dealing with dive. They've got the Rel, Samira can handle herself okay, but if she gets dogpiled on, she is going to drop quite quickly. And they do have things like a lot of immediate burst damage out of the Ziggs. The Nara if he is in that mega form.
We'll be on to the rift for the final time this evening. Bulldog versus Nvision, lines of scrimmage being formed. And Shamada, which of these team comps do you prefer?
Always like to ask me this question at the end.
Yeah,
well,
yes, it's a good one.
I am always for ease of execution in drafts at almost any level of play. I think the less stress that you can put on your players coming out of a draft phase, realistically the better. So definitely favoring Nvision's draft here. Whilst I do like the spiciness of the Ziggs pick, you know, it can be hard to make this composition work. And it's not like they've got Ziggs here kind of just sit in the mid lane forever and just wave clear whilst they have a side lane sort of split push threat. Albeit, Archie could build for the side lane, so we don't necessarily know yet. But trend for Gnars has been typically stride breaker tank item. Let's see. A bit of potential late going down. This top side, we'll have to see. Big nothing. Not going to walk any further than that ward. That's a mana flow stack.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, I assume he has mana flow. Bulldog, they're going to get this lane invade in. Nvision aren't going to have any information on this. So going to be a little late to respond potentially. They will get a little bit of information depending on how Hachi enters the lane. If he just enters from the right-hand side, then it should be a good indicator that Nvision did lose their red buff. There's no pings coming down. There's actually a blue missing ping onto Zion's own red buff, so we'll have to see whether Godonica knows what's up. Given his pathing, I believe he likely does, unless he's going for a very aggressive gank. He is going to just go and return in kind. That's a very on-the-spot missing ping. Well, yeah. As the level 2 comes in for
a lot of damage coming through. The flash burnt by Longstaff as he's ignited by Poke, and we'll be able to get away with that one. But it's power of the level 2 in the bot side. Vyusi and Poke happy to take those trades. Although Spark able to get a decent amount of return damage down.
Yeah, but we have to be careful now because Godonica's level 3. He's already on the bottom side. He just took up this red buff. Bulldog should know he's here. They should know he's here, and if they die to this,
Poke's gone for the engage, and Longstaff could be going low, but will he die before Godonica gets involved? I don't know if he will. First blood actually secured before the Jarvan even gets in. Vyusi trying to slide away. Can he survive between Spark and Godonica? The stun comes down. The root is there. The auto from Godonica isn't quite there yet. Actually will go down. Vyusi picking up the kill. Spark, the only member left in the bot lane after a 2-for-2 trade early, and in the mid lane we might not be done yet. Zion looking to cut off B Muffin, surfing along the wall. The damage isn't going to land just yet. B Muffin should be able to just walk out of this one, but that bot lane fight was certainly something.
I don't like using the term simple off them, but this is Bulldog. You should know that Nvision are here, and the only reason why this is even a positive fight is just mechanical misplay / mechanical outplay from Vyusi. As he's able to get the resets down, he dashes out, and I feel like, I mean, it could have just been a flash forward from Spark after he lands the Deadly Flourish. Godonica doesn't have to commit underneath the tower, so correct play from Nvision. Bulldog misreading the map. It's just disrespectful play. Realistically, they shouldn't come out ahead in kills, but they do. That's going to be curious to see how they actually can pilot that lead that they just gained for themselves. There's a little more counter jungling going on here. Zion going to get his hands on second respawn Gromp, actually. Nice chunk of XP going to be flying into his pocket. Godonica's on his way down, but I don't think he's going to actually intercept that invade, so going to lose out on his Gromp. Feel pretty sad about it once he does find that camp. Zion's pathing back down here.
Yeah, he's looking to make
Poke has flash.
Involved. Poke.
Spark does not.
Where's the engage? The knockup doesn't come through as Longstaff will be able to bash him away, and Zion showing his face, thinking, maybe not. You know what? I'm just going to head out, guys, and bot lane returns to parity.
Yeah, Longstaff able to react properly to the play because there was vision in that bush, so was able to interrupt the W of his own body
moving down.
Godonica's here. It's Godonica's turn to gank the bot. The potentially.
There was some success in the last gank. I wouldn't call it 100% successful. As damage coming down onto Vyusi, just to be a little bit careful. And what's going on? Gudonica and Zion. Now Zion's heading off, and Gudonica might well follow. And how has no one been fight? What?
It's yeah, that was pretty comical. Yeah, alright, nothing really to say there. I'm surprised Nvision don't actually want to take up a dragon here. They could have had mid lane priority if Muffin wanted to force it a little harder. Had that bottom wave crashed in, but the call is to just let it go, take a reset, return back out onto the map. Bulldog going to be able to crash that wave and get a reset of their own, but no creeps really going to be missed here. Full Spark, Long Star. Going to try and hold the wave. It's actually going to force Bulldog to interrupt their reset. See if they actually still take it. Looks like the answer is going to be yes. And Nvision going to be able to push this wave back out and actually have a wave of tempo available to them.
Poke's going to have his recall stopped, but Vyusi was able to get away from that one. And definitely a strong show of aggression in the bot side from Nvision initially. Both teams have been willing to scrap it out, and the advantage sits on the red side just now. Not too much in it, only about 500 gold at this early mark as Zion hanging around mid lane, won't be able to find anything, and it's just going to slide right on through.
Yeah, a slide right by Ziggs, and honestly, outside of the bottom lane shenanigans, pretty quiet game. The result is Spark is 2-0 on this gen. Vyusi, of course, did die during that tower dive. It's hard to call it. Yeah, well, tower overextend. I'm gonna call it. Doesn't deserve to be called a die. Has 2 kills for himself as well. So AD carries a little accelerated. We haven't really had much of a look at this top lane. Archie and Aka's just been endlessly farming away at each other as Donica thinking about trying to get into Zion's jungle. Tension find it. Not gonna hit the plant. Not gonna know, so just take his exit.
He needs to be a little careful. Doesn't have all that much mana. Zion in the wings with the blue buff. Here to support if needed, but Gudonica happy just to wander right on through towards, and Poke looking for the engage. We'll be able to find the Jarvan. Can the stun come through as well? No, it can't. Flag and drag to safety for the Jarvan. He will be able to wander away. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Vyusi left all by himself. Will be able to hit 6, and Zion using that wall to get in range. This could well be the gank they were looking for a while back. Teleport coming through, as actually they caught on to the Talia as the flash away. Teleport coming down. Nice ultimate from the Malphite. Will this be another kill? Yes, it will. Spark securing that one. Third of the game on the Jhin, and Vyusi and Poke do manage to survive. Will be sitting under tower, but this Jhin could well get out of control if they're not careful, and a dragon would certainly help the situation if Nvision could pick this one up as well.
Yeah, definitely going to be good for Nvision here, and unfortunately for Bulldog, Archie had just committed his teleport to the top side moments before Aka's actually teleports to this bottom side gank, so have the numbers advantage. Nvision find themselves a kill onto the Bulldog jungler. Got there again. Spark sat comfortably at 3-0. Be feeling pretty happy about that. Game state, kind of whatever. Nothing's really happened so far outside of these bottom lane ganks. It's really strange because normally we would talk about a 3-0 AD carry and be like, wow, this is game changing. It's probably going to change the state of the game. But Jhin isn't really the focal point of this game per se, right? How it should realistically play out. We had the replay there. Zion flashed before Aka showed up, so Aka pressed the Darky on him. No stopwatch for Zion in the runes, so not going to be able to freeze up. And even if he had the rune, I don't think he would have had it. Donica got ganked.
There's the ultimate coming down from Beam Muffin, just forcing the Ziggs away, but a lot of damage coming through. Longstaff and Gudonica hanging around as well. Ziggs will need to be careful in this mid lane. There is dive potential for Gudonica and Beam Muffin, maybe looking up towards this Rift Herald. Aka's there as well. Zion caught a little bit unawares as Punk and Vyusi coming down. Damage coming through in the objective secured. Gnotica going to move away. So much damage coming down as Nvision looking just to clean up this situation. Poke will go over the wall, but Beam Muffin's going to follow. Triple kill coming down on to Bulldog. Here comes the Herald as well, and Shiklin looking for a way out. Jumps up in the air. Actually baits out Spark to shoot the wrong direction. So Shiklin will be able to find his way out, but Nvision turning up the pace, turning up the style, grabbing the objective as well.
Yeah, managed to sneak away that Herald right under the noses of Bulldog. Donica slides in, just says thanks. I will appreciate that leash. Zion finds himself in the middle of many rocks, cataclysms, and malfights. Ends up costing many more members, not just Zion as well. Bayusi and Poke both attempted to support their jungler, died for it. And that's kind of the issue with some of these slightly more mobile champions into the composition that Nvision are running. Very easy to just get locked down, especially when you don't have flash. Not really much you can do about it outside of things like Stopwatch and Sonya's, which only really Zion and Shiklin are going to be able to purchase for themselves. Bayusi sure might eventually be able to pick up a Stopwatch. Hackers is
2 levels up.
Oh!
The damage coming down. Bayusi needs to be very, very careful. Zion is there, but
honestly,
that is not the damage you'd expect coming out of a Malphite.
Yeah, it's the Q Max Malphite.
That's all available as well.
We also had comments, so fuck off. Rock that. Honestly, finally Nvision has sort of snuck, or not so silently, snuck 2,000 gold ahead of Bulldog in this one. And like we highlighted at the start of the game, at the end of draft, Nvision have a very easy to play out draft. It's not like they have a lot of work cut out for them. It's just press our keys, go forward, caveman, no go booger. It's not really a lot going for a Malphite Jarvan composition. Just make sure you're tracking flashes properly. So for Bulldog, you really have to do their due diligence. Try not to fall too far behind, because a composition like this can get very oppressive to play into very quickly.
Absolutely, and they've fallen a bit behind so far. 2,500 gold to the worst under Nvision, and you don't want to be falling behind. You don't want to be allowing this easy engage to turn into easy assassination, because as soon as that happens, it's kind of curtains. And as you mentioned before, Bulldog have a very immobile lineup. Yeah, Samira can dive around a little bit, and yeah, of course, the Gnar can hop about, but Talia, Ziggs, Rel, they're not really moving in these team fights.
No, they are not. But like I said, they do have quite a few strong peel pools. Like Nvision are trying to place the Herald down. And if they can... Okay, they're going to drop it super early, so they're not actually trying to go for the tower here, just a nice chunk. But taking down mid-tier 1 into a champion like Ziggs, very, very high value. It's like taking down a mid-tier 1 away from a champion like Victor. And occasionally Azir, depending on the kind of composition he's into, where those kind of champions can just stalemate a game. Taking a real big bite out of that mid lane tier 1 is very, very good. And they're just going to immediately transition that into a second Dragon Lynch. Really going to be contested. Archie doing his best up here to try and trade some plates. He might get final plate drops off. We'll have to see. All attacks aren't doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, I don't think they've done enough with that armor being sharp. But the tower will go down immediately afterwards. Devastating stuff. But the tower does go down, so are able to secure the first tower gold, but not that final plate.
Unfortunate, not able to get that final plate. Still a very tidy sum of gold being injected into the Bulldog top laner, and as you can see, gold highlighted by our observer. It's 1,000 up over the Malphite, and that's a failed last cone, but that's okay.
What is it with players today not wanting to bring their supports along for the ride? Like,
yeah, junglers really just quite mean.
It's been a solo queue day for junglers here at the UKLC. A lot of people are just like, yeah, I'm going to go over, and the support's like, wait, no, and then left to walk around the long way.
Quite strange too, because Gnotica and Longstaff are quite good friends. They played together for a while.
I mean, is that
like
does that make it strange, or does that make it?
You know, they were teammates this split so far, right?
I think that if you're mates with the player, though, I think that makes it more likely that you're going to deny them stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
If I didn't know the player and I was just like teammates with them a couple of like a split or so, make sure that they come with me, give me some support. But if I play with the guy forever, yeah, maybe I do blast cone them away from me. Maybe I do blast cone them into the enemy team, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Probably a reason why I'm not playing. Just might be part of it.
It could be it.
Like, you know, just being willing to throw my allies into harm's way for my own amusement. Not really something that a lot of scouts are looking for in a UKLC talent, and certainly not one who's doing it in gold. But look at this game state. We've got a couple of 1,000 gold in Nvision's pocket over their opponents in Bulldog, and do either of these compositions scale particularly better than the other?
I mean, I suppose Nvision, in theory, should outscale too, so honestly, sitting pretty comfortable with this gold lead. I suppose, though, one thing to not sleep on is how much damage this Ziggs is capable of putting out. However, with there being so much engaged potential from Nvision, it's not like he's realistically going to go untouched in many of the fights. Bulldog actually managed to sneak themselves away Herald for relatively free.
Engage coming through. Only lands on the poke, though. He's pretty tanky on the rail. Good, I got on the backside, though. Does manage to get onto Shiklin and Zion. The ultimate cataclysm coming through, making it very easy for Spark to get the snipe down. One more shot is available. Can he land it to a target? He looks for Zion. We'll be able to find him as Akers runs forward. The root does land, but Poke might be able to get away because of the indecision from the mouth fight. B Muffin looking to get them down, but the flash from Zion will deny the final take that may have been needed. Nvision take the fight, and they take the mid tower as well.
Yeah, Nvision getting a positive fight here. It's only a 1-for-1 in the grand scheme of things, but the important and critical thing is that Nvision actually take the mid tier 1. Okay, Bulldog are going to trade out in the bottom side to this tower, but Nvision are just going to shove in for a full mid lane push. Map really wide open now, and all of a sudden, Shiklin doesn't have a homestead in the mid lane to just farm away at, sit all the way far back, because now that the towers have been taken down, map wide open, it means Nvision have far more angles to go at you and engage, so be very, very careful. Pushing out lanes now, and honestly, nice response from Nvision, all things considered. Not even sure how we ended up in that situation. It felt like a bit of a random fight.
Well, I mean, Malphite go Burr, right? Like,
Malphite felt like he wanted to go forward. So
this is one of the things you learn when you're watching all the League of Legends in the world. When you're casting a lot of UKLC, UKL, this kind of level of play. If there's a Malphite, it means that a team fight could happen at any point, and you know what? Probably will.
Yeah, alright, I'm down for that. As Herald going to be dropped. Very powerful tool when you have a Ziggs, because of course Ziggs has the execute on the tower. I don't think... Yeah, pretty low. They've dropped the satchel really early. They're not quite good. Oh,
there it is. There's the Cataclysm come through. Zion has been caught in the mix, and B Muffin will get a soldier in there to help get the kill. Spark picks that one up as Akers is in the fight. Hachi tried to teleport in, but he's not Mega, and he's going to go low so quickly. Can the stun come down from Poke? The flash comes out for Hachi. Keep him alive as Poke will be bringing everyone in together, but no one wants to be there as Hachi's going to be shuffled in. Members are going to be shuffled in, and the last kill of the fight goes down. Nvision pick up the ace. It's going to be Hachi or Akers with the final kill as Shiklin goes down, and a very nice fight from Nvision. So many big team fight tools used, and they're going to be pushing in this tower and maybe looking at Dragon as well.
Yeah, just a muddle from Bulldog once the fight kicks off. It was never really going to be a positive fight once Zion goes down, but Archie teleporting into the middle of 4 or 5 members of Meganar. It's kind of reportable, to be honest. Fortunately, the Herald actually takes a big swing, and it means Bulldog are able to take down that mid tier 1. You see, Nothing gets that final soldier in. Zion, no flash, so he's not able to get out of the Cataclysm. And here we just see Hachi. Yeah, teleport, alright. As Poke actually disrupted by the cask. Does mean he ends up in the middle of 3 members to get that Magnet Storm down, but it's a nice drift to bring in the low members of Bulldog. Whilst Mayusi tries his best, gets that style wrapped up, but he's no Dante. Able to get the Bullet Storm going. Unfortunately dies. Able to take back a single kill in that fight, I believe. So just a clean ace.
This is something else we've seen a lot today. A lot of these fights have seemed a little bit muddled, not perfect by the winning team, but clean aces 5 for 0. It's been a bit of a theme. We've had it a few times today.
Yeah, actually, teams have been clean. Actually, a theme so far through this Super Week. Honestly, it almost feels like through last Super Week as well. Teams are rolling over much quicker than they have in previous weeks. It really does feel like whoever gets a lead right now in the UKLC just ends up taking
But this is the thing, because when I came in for the couple of weeks that I was covering so that Hippo can rest his vocal cords, we sat down and we were talking about League of Legends and the UKLC specifically, and you said, strap yourselves in, these teams it can be pretty slow, a lot of the teams are very passive, it's a very reactionary League of Legends, so just be ready for quite a long set of games, and I come in.
That was the case for the first 3 weeks.
It's just 20-minute stomps all around me, isn't it? Like...
Yeah, I mean, certainly treating you to some very fun spectacle games.
For sure.
Whether if you hit any analysts on the teams, maybe not so happy winning or losing.
The analysts say here, like, what's this Vibrant guy done to our team? Why are we just running it down? Like, come on.
Bring in the UKL style League of Legends.
Truly. I'm looking forward to sitting down tomorrow and watching UKLC tomorrow when Hitbrain is back and seeing the 50-minute slogs come back. Because I think that'll be interesting. Poke going to be called out, but we'll be able to dive out of the Cataclysm. Interesting target from Gunnaga to take the Zion. Goes very, very low and will be cut down. Spark on the side, manages to get a kill onto Shiklin as well. Poke going to be chased away in the end. And again, out of kind of nothing, Nvision pick up the kills that they need to turn their attention towards Baron.
So cool. It's going to be Baron. No jungler available for Bulldog. And this game's feeling pretty over. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this one. Bulldog have fallen so far behind. Unless they do have, decent enough tools to deal with certain dive comps. When you're dealing with Malphite, Jarvan, Gragas, Curtain Call over the top of it, I don't know it's enough as Shiklin actually bumps Spark in. And yeah, okay, Gale Force is a great item. Still deals damage to champions, by the way. It's fine, Mark. Yeah, don't nerf it. It's good.
Don't nerf it, it's good. Okay, Jamal, here's a question for you as the teams are a little bit reset. There aren't objectives on the map for us to really discuss, and it's just going to be the classic siege them out. One thing you want to see Riot nerf.
Gale Force. Not even, like, remotely close.
Really?
Gale Force is pretty bonkers. I mean, I know they upped the cooldown of the dash, right? So I think it's now 90 seconds, unless they pulled that nerf out. But I don't feel like they did. So it used to be a 60-second cooldown. But it's just the issue with like champions like Jhin, champions like Kai'Sa. It pushes their lethal ranges into actual 100 to 0 range once they have Gale Force like +1 IO. And it just feels really absurd. I feel like Bulldog are about to just lose.
Oh, Poke has absolutely denied the jump and Spot. Diving through, there's the 100 to 0 on the Zion. Is actually gonna be stunned up. Does go Mega, but that just means he's gonna leave a bigger corpse. Double kill for Jhin as he cosplays the big game hunter moving forward. Can't find any more game though as Poke looking to recall, and this game can be done pretty swiftly if Nvision keep pushing forward. They've got the damage, they've got the tanks, they've got the minion wave with Baron buff, and I don't know what Bulldog can do. Shiklin going to try and clear as much as possible on the Ziggs, and he's a champion that enjoys getting rid of the minions even with the Baron buff, but I don't know, this is looking pretty rough. Nvision take away that first inhibitor tower at the 23-24 minute mark, and we'll be happy with what they've gained moving backwards.
Yeah, they can just quickly reset. They've got Baron buff recalls too. That dragon is spawning up in 35 seconds. That's the Mountain Soul. No need to take any risks in pushing in the inhibitors. Seen that play more than enough times in UKLC when big buffs are spawning up, but teams, their eyes go glazed over for the final inhibitor. It does cost teams, like games, actually. Their eyes go all big for Nexus Tower inhibitor. As you can see, Bulldog do have actually position for this, but I mean, Akaz just walks through the minefield. He doesn't really care about this game.
The ultimate coming through, hatching. Needs to be careful, but on the backline, Akaz goes in. Damage comes through. There's the Cataclysm. Zion goes golden, but it just will not matter. The ultimate comes from Vyuzi. That's a decent amount of damage going through. Spark has now turned up to the fight, though. Jamala gets excited because Jhin isn't there. Shiklin looking for a way out. The flash is good away from the cannon, but Gunnaga's like, oh, that's cool. I've got one of those mobility tools as well. As Longstaff looking for the damage, Shicklin can't find a way out. Oh, actually, maybe can find the damage onto Gadaga, who's going to have to flag and drag away. And
all right.
Okay, Dragon's up. Nvision. Spark, what are you doing? No Spark, no. Okay. Okay, Jin gets the ace. Now they can look towards this Dragon Soul and Nvision in control.
Shicklin, we're gonna be up in words about that part today. Not sold on that one, but honestly, Poke does a pretty good job at zoning Spark away, but you can just see he slowly gets melted through. And honestly, it was a very nice Inferno trigger from Vayusi there to almost turn the tides in the favor of Bulldog, but it's really not enough. Spark hadn't showed up yet to lay down the damage, and once he does, fight pretty much done. And almost for a moment, Shicklin able to turn the damage around. Not able to find lethal though, and well, we all saw what happened there. Yeah, don't need to. Thank you, Observer. Thank you, Observer. I appreciate that.
First time the Observer hasn't been trolling the teams in those replays today, which is nice to see.
It's honestly great because, yeah, Observer being kind.
The only way you can guarantee a replay is by saying, we don't need to see that again. That is when you get the replay. This is coming from an ex-observer myself.
We are actually teasing him because nothing's happening right now. He could just pull up.
I wouldn't. It's fine. No, we don't need that.
No. Don't test it.
That's, you know.
He would. I'm telling you, he would.
Nah.
Oh, no.
Right, okay, Jamal, what's happened? Nah. My word.
Told you he'd do it. He didn't want to believe me.
Thanks, replay observer. Love you lots. Nvision haven't got Baron buff anymore, so pushing is going to be a little bit easier to clear, especially for the likes of Ziggs, as like masterfully move our conversation back towards the League of Legends game that has been on your screen for 25 minutes.
Okay. Flash away, folks.
Yeah, don't get involved too much with those Nvision lot, Poke. They're not good for you. You haven't been hanging around with hackers again, have you? I don't want to hang around with him at the moment. He's looking to ultimate anything that moves, anything he can see, and Poke looking for the engage. No, he's not. He's looking to get away from members of Nvision as the second inhibitor tower will be broken down. Inhibitor's still standing strong though, at least for the next couple of seconds, as the mid lane one will be cracked. Ganonica maybe looking to get an engage going, hanging around, but can of course just slide on over the wall and get away. And Bulldog pretty passive on their defense so far. Baron coming up very, very soon. Do they contest it? Do they let it go? What's the plan?
Yeah, you let this one go. To chuck out a Mega Inferno Bomb, see if you can steal it away. And then you leave. Because if you try and contest this Baron, I guarantee you will just lose the game off the back of it. So, Shicklin, all eyes on you, buddy. Ultimate. Let's see it.
There's the bomb. It's coming through, and it, you know, does some damage.
Yeah, it's a good attempt.
Oh,
balance.
Poke going to be caught out as well, taking a lot of damage. Spark has to reload, so not going to be able to pick up that kill. The curtain has been called advice. He needs to be careful, trying to dive off the side. We'll be getting some decent damage on Hachi actually standing in the fight for a surprisingly long time. And Longstaff goes down, Shicklin goes down. Vayusi's still going down, and the damage is coming out of the Samira is pretty impressive, but he will fall. Aka's able to punch him down, and Spark is like, hey guys, is this fight close or... There's the ace coming through. You know, every time Jamala gets excited, it's because Spark is somewhere else reloading his gun. And Nvision are going to take a decisive, masterful victory in the final game of the day. They're going to take down Bulldog. And when it comes to the relegation fight, it's really spicing up.
Yeah, Nvision finally able to pick up a win after, I believe, 6 losses on the trot.
Yeah.
Into Bulldog. And it does revive some hopes of escaping the drop zone. Now only trailing 1 loss behind the middle of the pack. Many of the teams sat at that 5-win mark actually lost today. So it's a pretty big pickup to drag themselves closer to the middle of the pack. Maybe not necessarily into playoffs, but certainly away from relegations is got to be the goal for this Nvision line. Like we said yesterday, Nvision as an org since 2020 have been very successful. Talk about the spring split where they finished 3rd, 4th. Obviously in summer were the champions, and in Fall Open they came 2nd. They were the runners up. Only falling to, by the way, the roster that went to EU Masters. So, you know, Nvision, whilst it's not definitely been the best split so far, trying to at least salvage what is left.
Absolutely, and it's going to be very, very interesting to look forward to the next few days of League of Legends in the final couple of matches for all of these teams, because there's still a lot to play for. Of course, Resolve are where they are, and Demise are maybe looking like the team that is most likely to go into that relegation. It's going to be a massive stretch for them to survive, especially with results going down today. And the rest of the teams in this league, from London down to Nvision even, everyone's looking pretty close. It's kind of it's hard to talk and say, it's very difficult to say Nvision are going to make playoffs. Like, that's a hot take if you make that statement.
Yeah.
It's a hot take to say, like, London aren't going to make playoffs at this point. And it still feels like a hot take to say, like, M&M Academy are in a relegation scrap, but things are just so close.
Things can end up very weird to our sort of mid-split, pre-Super Weeks expectations of our teams here. I guess three game days a week really can shake up a team's momentum. I guess the end result. No, nothing.
No, I mean, I was just enjoying life. My camera is stunningly cell shaded. Well, it's it's a little bit fuzzy, but I need to wait for something else to be on screen before I can fix it. But
yeah,
let's go to drawing board, in fact, as an excuse, as a segue.
Do we have it?
Do we have drawing board?
Have
let's find out.
1 second. Just gotta get myself ready.
It's all falling apart a little bit in this last game, hasn't it?
I wasn't expecting it to be here so fast. That's all. So, on the minimap, we can see it's my fault really. I didn't have my production chat. On the minimap, you can see Zion is starting up this dragon, and Nvision, they have so much bottom side priority because Bulldog have rotated their bottom side up top side, that Longstaff was able to make the rotation all the way from bottom side all the way up into the mid lane, where we see him here just chilling in this 3-man core, and they're able to secure mid lane priority. So Shiklin being chunked out in the way he is, you can see not a lot of health left on him. He has to sit here and receive the wave. So this means that Nvision are able to just rotate up into this top river, and whilst Bulldog, the bottom lane, do have top lane priority, it's Akers who just cheats it and just moves, drops the wave anyway, and we're just going to see Vedonica slide in. I think actually just catches it with the flag and drag, secures the herald with that. Inferno Trigger interrupted Longstaff, able to take Bayusi down before it even really happens, and Steve Muffin slides in, and it's just Nvision good movement on the map. Even though Bulldog are the first ones to the herald, at least Zion is able to have it stolen away from him. Spark not quite able to pick up that kill, but it's just a good rotation coming in from Nvision. Numbers advantage technically first to the herald play, but technically is all you need in this case. And Godanica didn't have smite, just recognized on the clip. Didn't have smite for the herald, I believe. Actually just stole it with the flag and drag. Unfortunate for Zion to not pick that one up, because at least if he took it, it would have been taking away the trading tool from Nvision. But
true,
didn't quite secure it, unfortunately, for the Bulldog side. And Nvision first win 6 games. I don't want to say they're out of relegations. They're still 4th. They're the only. Oh, they're still there with 4 wins. They're the only team in the league with 4 wins. Everyone else, Demise, I believe, sat at 3 wins now. And
2 wins for Demise, right?
No, it's 3 wins. I'm pretty
Is it
sure.
3 wins?
I want to say it's 3 wins. And then
We'll find out when we get to the standings later on. But yeah, this is the thing. It's a good step for Nvision to go one step further to try and secure safety for themselves to get out of this relegation tournament that will be happening in a few weeks' time. And Bulldog, a team that was contesting playoffs, still is contesting playoffs. A very, very strong win for Nvision to grab. We are just waiting for INFU to be set up. We're going to be speaking to Akers from Nvision, the Malphite from that game, and very interesting to see how much fun he had just ulting all the immobile targets on the side of Bulldog. Was that a big problem with the draft here? Because Nvision looked much more aggressive. Again, Godonica bringing that with the Jarvan pick up this time around, and Bulldog didn't really draft a way to defend against that strategy.
Yeah, I really do feel like Bulldog, they saw the Jarvan there, and then what was their final rotation? It was the Ziggs plus the Samira.
I think it was the Samira.
Oh, maybe it was the Samira.
I think it was, yeah.
So, like, Samira can handle dive okay, but she wants to dive in herself. She's not really a champion that wants to be on the receiving end of dive. So, especially when you see the likes of the Jarvan there, whilst yes, you can technically dive out of the Cataclysm, I feel like you should have just gone for a slightly more hyper-scaling pick that can at least sort of survive looking at Vayne, because it is something that Caspar, the Vayusi, does play. He's played it in the UKLC already. And with the lack of point and click CC, all he really needed is flash, and as long as he could dodge away from the Malphite ultimates, he would have been okay.
Well, speaking of Malphite ultimates, we are joined now by Akers, coming off back of that victory from Nvision. Akers, massive congratulations on that win, ending a pretty rough run of form for the team. Must be a relief, if nothing else, to grab yourselves another point on the board.
Yeah, it feels really good. We've had such a rough run of games, but like, yeah, it feels really good to get quite a dominant win here.
Yeah, and looking at the team composition that you were drafted going into that game, it was the kind of thing that we love to see when a team is maybe not performing at their top in a run of form. It's the press buttons, really obvious engage tools, and everyone was just playing their part this time around.
Yeah, we just decided that we'd just make it really, really simple to play. Like, I really didn't play late in this game. I just ran around the map and pressed ult, and it was pretty fun to play because I just didn't really take any damage. So yeah, that's Malphite for you.
Yeah, and I do want to ask, obviously you guys had that really tough run of form. It resulted in you guys subbing out Yuna for Gudanica. I just want to ask, how has Gudanica, in sort of like, I assume you guys have had a little bit of time to practice with him, of course. How has he sort of changed the team dynamic, sort of moving from Yuna to Gad?
Yeah, so I think Gad brings much more, like, in terms of comms. I don't necessarily think there's a player difference. I think it's just in terms of communication, because our laners aren't necessarily the most talkative laners, so we just needed someone to kind of bridge the gap between all the laners and make the comms a lot more free-flowing, I guess.
Okay, that's good to hear. And obviously, I had Gath last split. I know he can be a shout sometimes.
Yeah.
So in the standings now, you guys at 4 wins, I believe. Still trailing behind the middle of the pack. I think you're still sat at that 7th place mark.
Yeah.
Moving forward, how do you feel your chances are of sort of trying to make it out of this bottom 2 standing? Because some of the teams above you have definitely been slipping up. Of course, the main focus has been on M&M Academy, not really being able to find the run of form like how they had in the earlier week.
Yeah, I think the standings are super close right now, when I last checked anyway. So I think every win counts for us. It could bring us out of relegations into like playoffs potentially. So I think we're just trying to take it game by game. I think we have Resolve tomorrow, so we're going to try and maybe beat the undefeated. But yeah, we're just going to take it game by game.
Well, massive thank you for joining us on the interview. Massive congratulations on the win, and hopefully your renewed run of form can continue tomorrow.
Thank you.
Nvision coming up against Resolve tomorrow. Run of form, if it's built, that'd be impressive matchup to watch, and
I mean,
Nvision looked very strong.
Earlier on in the split, we had Demise take down the 2nd place team, or at the time the 2nd place team in M&M. Just saying, being at the top of the table versus some of the bottom end teams could be risky. But Resolve, no, Nvision are probably going to have to pay the tax. That's the most realistic situation going into tomorrow, unfortunately, for Nvision. But at least they got a win on the board this weekend. Going 0-3 this week, after last week as well, definitely would have been very devastating for them. And most likely, in a lot of scenarios, would have just locked them in for that relegation spot. So keeping their hopes alive to make it into either, a neutral standing or potentially even playoffs because of how tight the middle of the table is.
Well, let's jump to just have a look back at what we've done today, the matchups that we've seen and the matches that we've played. We've got some highlights for all of you on this lovely Valentine's Day evening. First up, Barrage versus Resolve, and this was pretty cut and dried.
Yeah, pretty cut and dry. A couple of fights just went too far in Resolve's favor. And, Barrage, I feel like they had a pretty good composition to deal with what Resolve were running, but weren't able to make the plays with Twisted Fate. Kind of the key thing there. And then, of course, London into Demise. Bit of a one-sided affair at the end of the day, but Demise, they tried again. Really critical of some of these sort of more high resource picks that they don't put a lot of resources into. Is quite sad to see, especially when you have players like Rifty. Pillar's also mechanically not too terrible, but he's not really had the best showing so far this split. Some of these more mechanical picks, and honestly, M&M losing out to Enclave. Hard to even necessarily call it an upset anymore. Fortunately, the reality for this M&M Academy side, Enclave keep their playoff hopes alive with this victory. Of course, the next clip will be the game that we just saw. Nvision versus Bulldog. Finally able to pick up a win on the board after 6 losses. back-to-back, and it's a very curious teleport from Hachi. From this point, it seemed pretty much a goner. So much dive coming out from Nvision. Ease of execution, name of the game here. Very beautiful Shuriba shuffle to end out the fight. Fortunately for Fusi there at the end. Not able to cosplay Dante.
Yeah, not able to grab himself the ultimate and grab themselves the win, but let's have a look at where those games leave us as we go towards our tomorrow matches. Remember, this is Super Week, so we got 3 on the weekend. Resolve still undefeated. London Esports put a little bit of daylight between themselves and the playoff chasing pack. Mirage Academy, Enclave, M&M Academy, and Bulldog all on 5 and 6, with Nvision just trailing behind them 4 and 7. So still potentially in with a chance. It's all to play for. Demise 2 and 9, not looking too comfortable to get away from relegation, but they're still going to put on a good performance and build some momentum going towards those relegation matches. And if we look at the schedule for tomorrow to see exactly what you're going to be able to witness, of course, it will be Hit praying back instead of me, but Jamada will still be here to watch these matches. M&M versus London, Resolve and Vision. Enclave versus Bulldog is going to be a very interesting matchup. 3rd game of the day, and then Barrage Demise to round out the night.
Yeah, I think 1st game of the day, 3rd game of the day, probably the most impactful on the standings. If M&M lose against London, it's likely going to seal their fate sort of towards the lower end, 4th place, but at best, realistically. Enclave, Bulldog. You saw Bulldog lose here today versus Nvision, and Enclave, honestly, if they can beat Bulldog, puts them in pretty good standings for a playoff finish. And Barrage, don't want to say they're going to have a freebie into Demise. However, Demise not looking the greatest, unfortunately for them. And Barrage have been looking a little better, even in some of their most recent losses, looking a little more cohesive. The end result, of course, had to pay the Resolve tax today, but tomorrow they get the opposite. They get tax return, potentially.
Tax returns? Nah, you can't. That's not... You can't turn the analogy that direction. That's not allowed. But Nvision will be the ones trying to avoid the tax tomorrow night. But on that bombshell, that is going to be it for ourselves at the UKLC tonight. I've been Viper and joined by Jamada. Thank you so much for watching. We always appreciate all of the support from myself, Jamada, and everyone here at the UKLC. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.